If you ever listen to any of my podcast episodes, this episode is going to be a little bit different because today it's just me. I'm not interviewing anyone. So I'm going to start releasing lots more episodes, probably 2 or 3 a month that are just me talking, giving you guys strategy. My goal always is not just to give you fluff and theory, but give you real strategy that you can use to grow your martial arts school and copy and paste the strategy and start using it right away. You'll notice when I interview other people, I ask them very specific questions because I want to know too. Like my goal always with the podcast is the conversations that I have with people that are recorded would be the same conversations that I would have with someone if I was at a martial arts conference and I was in the back of the room and I was just talking, getting to know their school and like good things they do to get new students or retention or grow their staff. So that's always been my goal is kind of record those back of the room conversations so you can hear it and me asking sometimes personal questions I would ask one on one and I always like being kind of that fly on the wall for the conversation. So I hope that you guys enjoy that as well. But today, it's going to be just me. And these episodes are going to be shorter, probably less than 20 minutes, I would say. But today's episode, we're going to talk about the 4 myths about running school talks or programs at your local schools. Okay. So if you ever thought about doing school talks, I've talked about this a million times about how important organic marketing is. And organic marketing is so important because when it comes to social media like Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, all these services, they all can change their algorithm overnight. So even though we all have to run ads, yes, I talk about organic marketing all the time, but I also run ads as well. I've paid for every marketing agency there is, and I have some of my favorites now that I use. But we need to have organic marketing strategies as well. We can't rely on social media because even the best agency to run your ads, if the algorithm changes overnight, well, they have to play catch up, right? Because that's just how it works. And sometimes ads will work and then ads stop working later, and it's called ad fatigue. And they're not really sure exactly why that happens, but no matter what, you have to make a new ad. And then if you spend months doing that, then you're kind of just stuck in the mud. So organic marketing is so important because you can control it. Okay. When you do you run an ad, you throw money at something, and it doesn't really take a lot of work, right? You just like type things on your computer and hope people call and show up and set up an appointment. Organic marketing takes a lot more work. You have to get your hands dirty. You have to get sweaty. But I like to think of it like digging a well. Like you got your shovel, you're pushing in the ground. The first couple times it's difficult to kind of get going, but then once you get some momentum going and your hands are dirty and you're sweaty and you dig a well, it's not just like buying a water bottle from the airport, right? When you're thirsty, that's good. It's expensive. You get water right away. But then once you're done that water bottle, it's over. That's what paid advertising is. Organic marketing is you're getting your hands dirty. You kind of have to work for it, but then you get to drink from that well over and over and over again. So it's a much higher yield. So today I'm going to talk about the 4 myths when it comes to doing school talks. Now, school talks is one of the 3 pillars that I teach in my program, Black Belt Business Elite, or which is my one-on-one coaching program, or Black Belt Business Academy, which is my group coaching program designed for school owners with less than 100 students or $10,000 a month in revenue. So I just launched that. So that's designed for school owners who they just don't have the budget really for one-on-one coaching yet. And maybe they're a little bit smaller and they want to get to that first milestone. So I wanted to have something specifically designed for them to help them that's, really inexpensive, something that costs less than the cost of an Italian dinner. Okay. So if you reach out to me, I'll send you a link, kind of the offer, exactly how it works. And the cool part is like you can cancel like anytime after 30 days if you don't love it, but I'd ask you to stick for it for 30 days to make sure you get the most out of it. And if you are over that mark, then the Black Belt Business Academy, the Black Belt Business Elite one-on-one coaching program, that's where you're going to get the most help, support, resources for people who are above that mark. Okay. So anyway, so let's talk about the myths. Okay. So we have three pillars we work for in organic marketing that I teach in what's called the Triangle Codex. The Triangle Codex is 3 pillars. Okay. One of them is schools. So that's like elementary schools, middle schools, even high schools if you're brave enough, in your area, both public and private. Okay, not just the public schools, private schools also. The second pillar is going to be daycares. And some people think daycares, I don't teach, 3-year-olds. That's okay. Sometimes daycares have 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds, and you just teach that age group. But that in that pillar will also put after school programs and summer camps. Okay. Not running an after school program at your martial arts school. If you do that, bless your soul, like that's awesome. We're talking about you going to schools in your area that have after school programs, and the other one is summer camp. So we have summer camps coming up in about 4 or 5 months. But I'm recording this in January 2025, so summer's not too far away, about half a year away. And like, how do you set up programs with the local summer camps in your area to recruit new students? So that's the second pillar. The third pillar is going to be businesses in your area. And I don't know anyone else who teaches this. So it's really, really important that all three pillars, especially the businesses. Like, I know no one teaches that. So, but today I'm going to talk about pillar number one, which is doing school talks, okay, or seminars or workshops, whatever you want to call it, but going to local schools in your area and creating programs that actually convert into new students. So the first myth I'm going to talk about is that school programs are good for awareness, but not good for converting students. Now, I've done plenty of school programs in the past where you go, you teach, you put your heart and soul into it. It's difficult to first, it's difficult to just hack your way in to get accepted into a school. So you finally do it. You teach hundreds of kids. You've been doing martial arts for a really long time. So you know what to teach. It's fun and exciting. But then you get back to the school, you're all pumped up, your testosterone is going, and then the phone just doesn't really ring. Like, yeah, you might get 1 or 2 lessons out of it, maybe a couple students, but you don't really get a lot of people that convert. And you just spent all day or weeks being a PE teacher at the school, and you didn't really like nothing, you didn't get much out of it. You just got like awareness, but awareness doesn't pay the bills. Okay. So the first myth is that school programs are not good for converting students, they're just good for awareness. And I have to tell you that is not true. Now, that doesn't mean every school program you do is going to be a giant tidal wave of new students. Definitely not. Okay. Because sometimes you're going to mess it up, or sometimes schools will have certain restrictions. But you should be able to convert students from a local school. In my Triangle Codex, okay, we look for between a 1% and 3% conversion. Okay, so within 1 week. So that means if you go to a school and they have 500 members at that school, 500 kids, you want to convert between 5 and 15 students as paying full-time students within 1 week. That's not crazy, right? It's not like, oh my God, that's an insane number. How does this guy do that? It's really not, because if you have the right strategy and the right system, then you can convert students correctly from these school programs. And I'm going to give you one tip to make that happen for today. That'll be helpful. And the first tip that I'm gonna tell you to make that helpful, so you can actually get conversions, is to make sure collect information from the schools. That means that you get the kids to fill out waiver forms with their name, number, and email. That way you can actually reach out to the people. I can't tell you how many programs I've done where I go out there, I teach, it's really fun, and I give them a flyer, and I just wait for them to call me. And then one day, someone's like, "Oh, it was actually someone who I was teaching, one of the people in our franchise," and they said, "Yeah, I gave out a waiver form." And I was like, "Wait, you gave out a waiver form and you collected information?" I'm like, "How did I not think of that?" So then we started collecting information from the kids. Okay, now if you think a school won't do it, I promise you, it's all about how you present it. Okay, but I have my clients give out a waiver form that the kids fill out. So if there's 500 kids, you might not collect 500 waivers. They can't really keep track of all of them, but you might collect 100 or 200 waivers. And now that's 1 or 200 leads that are hot leads of kids in your area and families that actually live in your area that you're going to be able to convert into new students. Okay, if you follow up in the right strategy. So make sure to get a waiver form. It's really about how you present it. It should be short, fast, and easy for them to fill out. So that's the first myth. If you're doing school programs just for awareness, you're wasting a lot of time and energy, and you're probably going to get burned out doing them. Okay, because they're a lot of work. They're not easy. Okay, so that's myth number one. Myth number two is my area is tough. They don't accept people. Now, I have to be honest here. Since COVID, it's really been more difficult to get into schools. I remember when I first started over a decade ago, some schools I would literally just like, I would wait for someone to open the door and I would just walk in, and I'd be talking to the front desk person or the guidance counselor or the principal. They just kind of come find me, or I'd find them, and like, not be, it wasn't easy, but it was a lot more accessible. Okay, now because of COVID, people and also school shootings, they added all these layers of security, which is probably good for schools, but makes it more difficult for people like us, right? So it has become more difficult. But if you have the right script and know what to say and the right strategy and know who to target, then you will be able to hack your way in, because there's three pillars to making, or so not three pillars, there's three dominoes that you need in order to make a school program convert into new students. Okay, it's kind of like three dominoes that we look to fall. The first one is hacking your way in, so getting accepted. The second way is creating such a great program that those kids actually show up to your school. And the third domino is to have those students actually convert into members of your school. So usually school owners will be good at one of those things, or maybe not good at another part. We always got to fix like one of those areas. But just because it's gotten more difficult and your area has tough, doesn't mean that it's impossible. I promise you. Okay, so I'm pretty good at this. I've done this many, many times. And there's one school that is like a private Catholic school. It took me 7 years to get into. That was doing every other school in the area. Okay, so and they were the only one that was like a holdout. And eventually, one day I got lucky and I walked in there and I just didn't give up. And it happened to be they had a new principal. And all of a sudden, the other one had been there for like 15 or 20 years. All of a sudden, they're like, oh, yeah, this sounds great. Let's do it. And next year we're in. Right. So you never know like who you're going to run into, or who you're going to be able to talk to, or when the right timing, or when the timing is just right. But don't give up just because you've gotten rejected once from one school. Okay. Yes, there are school districts that could be more difficult, but just if you don't get into one door, like let's say you're trying to get in touch with the principal, there's other doors to knock on. Like, don't just slam your head into the same door because you can't get in. Like, okay, you try with the principal, it doesn't work. Okay, now I'm going to try with the guidance counselor. I always recommend guidance counselor first, because they're usually more accessible to the public and they're more parent facing. And then the principal probably has a lot more on their plate. But guidance counselor, and then the other thing we'll do is we'll work on the after school program in their area. If that doesn't work, then we'll go towards the PTO or PTA. If that doesn't work, then we'll work on a parent connection that we have. So one of our students that happens to go there who can make a referral. So there's lots of doors you can kind of knock on. But don't give up if you've been rejected once. Okay, which brings me to myth number 3. Okay, myth number 3 is you need to get into all of them. All right. Here's the thing: you don't need to get all the schools in your area. With my clients, I want them to get into the between 1 and 3 schools in the beginning, within the first like 3 or 4 weeks of working with me, because once they do that, you use those schools as leverage and social proof to get into the other schools. Like, hey, I just visited um, John Hopkins School, and I talked to Mary over there, and we're set up for this time. I didn't want you guys to miss out at James Alexander School. So here's how we do it. And they hear like this other school doing it, and there's some automatic trust, right? Because they wouldn't be doing it if they didn't trust you. So there's like, you have that correlation of trust that you can borrow. Okay. So you don't need to get into every one. And if you look in your area, so one of the first things I have clients do is have them make a giant list of all the schools that we're going to target. Okay. I call it the hit list. And a lot of times there's like 15, 20, 25 schools in your area. Like, you only need to get into like between 1 and 3 of them in the beginning. That's really it. So if you try 25 times and get rejected 22 times, great. That's amazing. Our win 3. Now, as those start to happen, we'll start to go back and knock on those other doors again and say, hey, we're doing the program at this school. Usually they know each other. Like, they know the other guidance counselors in the area, right? Or they know the other principals. Like, they're friends. They hang out. They're all working the same industry, just like you know the other martial arts teachers in your area. So if you've been rejected, if it's difficult, just know that don't give up. Be okay being rejected. It's okay. And usually when someone says, oh, send me an email and I'll get back to you, or, oh, you need permission from the district, usually that's just them shooing you away so they don't have to deal with you. Okay. I've written those emails. I've tried to get permission from the district. I know what that's like. Don't give up just because they shoo you away in that moment. There's a script that I help my clients with that will kind of help you navigate around that so you don't fall into that trap. Okay, so that's the third myth. So we have 3 myths. One is that school programs are good for awareness, but not good for converting new students. Two is my area is tough and it's impossible. Yeah, some areas might be more tougher, but if you have the right strategy and the right script, you can get in. And three is that you need to get into all of them, but you don't. You only need a couple and use the rest as leverage. The last one, this one's the myth is I think funny because so many people do this wrong, is you have to spend a ton of time there. I can't tell you how many school owners or martial arts school teachers I know that go for PE teachers for 3 weeks or 6 weeks, and they go and they just spread their resources really thin. Maybe they're not even doing it, but their instructors are doing it. They're going back and forth and back and forth, and there's nothing that causes more burnout than spreading your resources thin out into the community and not focusing on your core program and not getting the results where like you're converting those people into new students. That's the quickest way to get burnout for you or your instructors, right? It's like all that action and energy put into something and you're not getting the result you want. And anytime you move further away from the core, further away from classes at your school, then the less quality you're going to have in your school, in your actual martial arts school, and the more defeating it can kind of feel, right? So that myth I think is really important because you don't have to spend a lot of time there. I teach my clients that, hey, you don't need to spend more than 1 or 2 days at a school per year, and that's it. You don't need to go there for weeks, I promise you. Okay, it should be short and sweet and fun, and the goal is always to hook them back into your martial arts school, and that is it. Okay, not to just create a lot of awareness and fun, excitement, or you do program there continuously and they feel like they're already training and they don't want to actually enroll at your school because they already train at their school. It should be quick, sweet, fun with the hook, and then right back into your martial arts school to feed your core martial arts program. Okay, that's the most important thing. Not having a couple schools that you do programs at for free, or maybe you make a couple $100. That's nothing compared to just having 1 or 2 new students actually join your martial arts school. So those are the 4 myths. It's a short podcast episode. I hope this is helpful. Send this to one of your martial arts friends who's maybe struggling or needs help, and like maybe they've fallen into this like kind of mental roadblock before. I promise you it's possible to make this work. And if you need help, reach out to me on Instagram at blackbeltbrenner1 or on Facebook at Matthew Brenner, or you can send me an email, matthew@doubleyourdojo.com, and I'll show you how to do it. And if you're a school owner that does over 10K a month in revenue and over 100 students, at least a minimum, then I'll send you a link to schedule a discovery call with me. I can check out your zip code, see what's actually available and works in your area. It'll be a 10-minute conversation, no crazy sales pitch or anything like that. And if I'm like, hey, this could work for you, then we'll talk about how that works. If not, then that's okay too. And if you're under that mark, I'm under 100 students, and you're interested about the Black Belt Business Academy, I haven't started running ads for it. It's actually my first time really just speaking about it publicly. I'll send you the link to the offer, how you get it online. It's really awesome. I'm adding tons of stuff into it every day. So anyway, if you have any questions, let me know. Reach out to me. Catch you later, guys. Bye.